Take 69. You know what is more frustrating than not being able to make a video? Yeah, that is right. It is actually making a video and it not being saved. Now, yeah, that's exactly what happened. I recorded my voice, I had it all finished. I was like, I'm gonna just, just gonna slap some gameplay under that, and now it's like, yeah, where's my audio? Where's my audio? And let me actually put my mic down a little bit. No, let's put it down. Put it down. Yeah. So today I actually, or actually in the video that I recorded, I want to talk about Apple hate, and maybe that's what I'm gonna do, because I do have some quite weird topics actually set up, or down the pipe. When you could say it like that, right? And I even had a script, but I was like, well, I have the video recorded, so I'm not gonna save the script. But now I actually don't have the script anymore, so I'm just gonna do without. I actually kind of know what I want to talk about, and this might be a little longer video to compensate, And, yeah, compensate for what? I said I was not going to talk about that, I think. Yeah, probably. Whatever. So, how are you doing? I hope you're doing very, very well, very nice and nice. And yeah, so have a lovely day before we start this video. But now we're going to start. Actually, I'm going to start telling you guys. So you maybe think like, well, Apple hate. What is going on? And you're just gonna hate on Apple again? And maybe that's gonna be like that. But we know the age of discussion of PC versus console. Well, yeah, maybe you got tired of that. And well, there's also this discussion of Android versus Apple. Now, the reason for this commentary was partially because while I was in London, which was awesome. Actually, London was quite awesome. I like the city, but so I was there. It's expensive though, and what was it? I had a conversation with two people from my group, which being my teacher and some kind of guy from that group. And they are both pro-Apple, very pro-Apple. And, I'm not contra Apple, but I don't like the bullshit they do. Now, if you would have asked me 4 years ago, or actually 5 years ago, when I got my laptop, I would have been totally fan of Apple. It's so great, and I gotta be honest, their product design really is nice. Their unibody design might be wasteful, but it sure does look good. And that is what Apple is good at. They make good-looking products, but that is about it, maybe. Now, about a year later, I got my iPod, and 2 years later, I think, that iPod began to slow down. I got my iPhone 4S, and now the iPhone 4S slowed down, and I actually got my OnePlus 2 a couple of days ago, almost a week ago already. Oh wow, they grow so fast. No, actually, my OnePlus 2 doesn't grow that fast anyhow. It's 5.5 inches. It's fucking huge. Now, I'm not. I am used to having a huge stuff or a lot of stuff in my pants, if you know what I mean. But like cramming a 5.5-inch phone next to that, yeah, well, it's just not cramming. It doesn't fit comfortably. No, I mean, you do get used to it, and it's actually quite funny because every time I hold an iPhone now, it's like, oh, look what I found on my Happy Meal. My friends have actually heard that joke many times before. But so I was talking about Apple, and over the time I began to notice more and more of what was meh with the thing. Now, my MacBook isn't the greatest iteration of the MacBooks. Now, it had several product faults. The video memory was shared with the system memory, so the RAM was like 2 gigabytes, and 265 gigabytes of that, or 256 gigabytes like that, were actually chopped off from the RAM, and then you actually only had 1 gigabyte of memory remaining to work with, because your system would take up another 256 megabytes, not gigabytes, megabytes. And so I was kind of disappointed, and I actually upgraded my RAM pretty quickly, and recently I upgraded my SSD. Now you could argue, well, you know, Tracker, that's 2010 technology. You cannot think like that a MacBook from 2010 is going to be lightning fast in 5 years later, or 5 years later, and I don't think you can say the same about the MacBooks now. And that is my point. You buy a machine of For example, the MacBook Pros right now start at 1,300 euros. That is a lot of money for a laptop. And for the same kind of money, I could get a laptop from Windows with a dedicated GPU, a much better CPU, much more storage, much more RAM, and all that kind of stuff. But it's just not Apple. Now, and there's Skype. Hold on. I'm gonna write in Skype really quick. Okay. So, see, the thing with MacBooks is they have a great trackpad and a great battery life. But that's it. And maybe their ecosystem does work pretty well together. Like, I mean, but that's something you cannot avoid. It's the same thing like with privacy and security. Do you want privacy or security? Same with Android. Do you want openness or do you want maximum compatibility? Because if you look at it, my iPhone 4S from 2012 still gets updates right now. I don't think there's an Android phone you can say, or there's an Android phone that still gets native updates from its manufacturer 3 years from its release date. Now, or at least there are not that many phones that happen to get that. And that is quite impressive, if I may say so myself. But, you know, if you want to buy a machine that costs, let's say you want to actually get a little bit more storage and you lose about 1,500 euros, then you have 265 gigabytes of flash storage, super lightning fast, but that's basically a PCIe or M.2 SATA SSD. And, you know, it's like okay, but I'd rather take the performance over the long battery life, because in the end it's just low voltage CPUs, and then my recording cut out. I'm such a noob, I hit the spacebar. But okay, so it's just low voltage CPUs, they perform less, and you pay more for the name. And that's the same thing, you know, like since Steve Jobs died, Apple has been degrading in terms of products. It's just not as innovative anymore. Like with the iPad, you had a product that basically existed, but Steve Jobs somehow managed to make it popular. And while the other companies might have come up with something like that later on, Apple was just the first to invent that. Same with the iPhone and stuff. So, you know, like, I'm not the kind of guy that would say, like, they should invent this or this, because Steve Jobs was a genius, even though he just repurposed everything and made it more expensive. But I'm fine with that kind of Apple. Now it's like, oh, we've integrated GIFs into our photos, and oh, look, we added Apple Pay, and oh, Apple Music. Like, Apple is just lacking behind of the competitors. And people still buy their shit. Like, everything that they say, they will buy it. Like, then there's the famous joke of Steve Jobs saying, like, who needs a stylus? And then a few years later, Apple's like, introducing Apple Pencil. It's not a stylus, it's a pencil. Yeah, well, pencils are those things with lead or graphite in the middle. It's graphite, it's not lead. But yeah, so people keep buying Apple shit, and they think it's still the best. And the problem with that is that it's killing the market economy in my mind. Like, I'm not a great predictor or anything, and I'm not a market specialist. But when people keep buying their shit, the competitors are not gonna be like, oh yeah, well, we now have to make effort to actually stay ahead of Apple. They can be just like, yeah, whatever, we just do the same for less, or something like that. So it's a shame that people believe in that, and it's a shame that people are ignorant. Because the discussion I had with two people was like, yeah, well, but it's more user-friendly. And I was like, dude, are you gonna fucking overpay for something that's like a Facebook and word processing machine? And he was like, yeah, well, it's just nice to have. Like, where did common sense go, guys? Where did common sense go? Also, another argument, last argument, it was like, yeah, well, if you go into some kind of office or something, then you will find iMacs. Why do you think is that? They're just plain good. And no, that's what I said in the beginning. Apple makes nice-looking products. But for video editing, there's shit. You can get 27-inch screens for Windows since a long time, and you can even go get 21:9 screens, which are just wide screens, which are very nice for video editing, and you can get much better screens for photo editing if you need the exact color reproduction. You cannot get an Apple machine under 3,000 euros which can hook many external displays up to. And I mean, you could argue like, well, the MacBook has an HDMI port and a mini display port. Yeah, well, but you see, you're not gonna buy a MacBook and then buy an expensive screen. You're gonna buy a good machine that has everything at once, or just a desktop that is way cheaper and does the same. So that was my little rantish. It was a little bit of explaining, a little bit of storytelling, a little bit of everything, and I think I have said everything I wanted. Excuse me if it was a little bit cluttered, but I still I still hope you enjoyed this videos. I have really slept not enough. Oh well. So yeah, thank you for watching. And I hope to see you guys next time, whenever that might be, because you know, like me and stuff. Yeah, you actually saw it. And yeah, until next time, I'll see you guys around. Bye. I was saying like double. I mean like it's until next time, see you guys around. Bye. That's actually thrice. Oh wow. I really have to new outro. I don't even have an outro right now. They're still listening? Oh shit. You know what the nicest thing in the world is?
What?
Not giving a shit.